It's my first day out, I'ma live it up tonight.
You're tuned in to the First Day Out podcast. This is a podcast where we'll be interviewing recently released individuals. We'll be talking to them about some things such as how did they end up in prison, their experiences while they were there, and most importantly, what are they doing to make sure they don't go back. Today, I'll be doing an interview with my guest here, Tony Jackson. He'll have the opportunity to introduce himself in a little bit. I'm your host, Katia Wilson. On social media, you can find me at Law No Order. I'm a criminal defense attorney in the state of Florida. I'm passionate about justice, second chances, and reintegration. We start every segment with your not legal advice for today. This is not legal advice because I am not your attorney just because you're tuned in. My not legal advice for today is just shut up. When they tell you that you have a right to remain silent, remain silent. When they say anything you say can and will be used against you, believe them. You will have your chance to tell your side of the story. I hear so often that they just wanted to tell your side. The police come in and say, this is your opportunity to see, to tell your side. If they're going to arrest you, they're going to arrest you, even with your side of the story. They're just going to use it against you like they told you. So, not legal advice for today. Just shut up. When you have the right to remain silent, be silent. Now, without further ado, we'll get into our interview. I'll let our guest go ahead and introduce himself. You can go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, my name is Tony Jackson. I was recently released this morning from Northwest Florida Reception Center, and I have been incarcerated now like 16 months. And I've made major changes and willing to, conduct myself on this interview in order to others can hear and know what's occurring in these facilities.
Okay. We appreciate you being here. Y'all heard that he just got out this morning, so not even a full 24 hours, huh, Mr. Jackson?
Right, correct.
Did you get an opportunity to eat you something yet? What's the first thing you trying to eat now that you home?
No, I didn't, and I made my plans not to eat something while I was leaving there because I could get away from state food and eat something that is edible, and I got open mind for whatever I'm going to decide to eat because I want a variety of things, but maybe a steak, seafood today.
Yeah, I know that's right. So, you said that this time when you went, you was there for about 16 months. Is this your first time being incarcerated?
No, it's not.
So, when was the first time that you would say you became involved or had contact with the criminal justice system? How old were you?
I was 17 when I first became involved. Actually arrested, but I started criminal activities around 16 years old, petty crime, and it just accumulated, and then I graduated to felonies and more crime that was more severe.
Okay. So, just a question. When you say you started off when you were pretty young, we'll say, with the petty crimes, what would you say do you think led you to crime or to the petty things, the street life? Was it your family? Was it the people around you? What would you say landed you there to even get involved with it?
Well, I think it was more of the people that I was surrounding myself with. Due to the fact I had a great upbringing with my family, it was just, I guess, out of boredom, and the key to it was bad decisions and bad choices.
Okay. So the first time you went to prison, how old were you?
I was 18.
How long you been the first time?
About 9 months.
Oh, okay. What was that one for?
Violation of probation, dealing in stolen property.
Oh, okay. So when you say That's something that I find often when you say started petty. The teenagers always start out with the stealing. They steal some little stuff,
Yeah.
maybe rob a little something, pull some
Correct.
car doors, and then it kind of escalate from there.
Yes.
Yeah. But while you said you had a great upbringing, were you involved in stuff in school, sports, different stuff like that?
Yes, I were. I was a great athlete. Played football, baseball, and basketball. Had scholarship in football. Again, wrong crowd, wrong time, bad decisions. That caused me my scholarship to be taken and my whole lifestyle to be changed.
Okay, I understand that. So I know you have kids. How many kids do you have?
I have 7.
All right. So when you went to prison that first time, did you already have kids?
Yes.
How many?
1.
Oh, okay. You just had 1 then. So you have 7 kids for the same person, for different people. How that work?
No, they're all from different moms.
Oh, you was getting around.
Yeah.
You was getting around.
Yeah.
So, question, like, during this time, after you went that first time and you already had a child, like, was that something, do you think you was too caught up in just the life you was living for those things to be something to steer you away from it, just caught up in it at the time you were so young?
Yes, without reasonable doubt, it were.
Okay, I can understand that. So when was the next time that you went to prison?
This time I got out and again hang around the same crowd, same type of people. However, it was something that I didn't do. However, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I had just a rep for this county. I feel that it was a dislike, and I stood up to the law. I felt done wrong in several places on several occasions, and again, I say, at wrong time, wrong place, and I was sent to prison for something I didn't actually do, but it stuck.
Yeah. So you say in the county, that's the county where you're from?
Yes,
And
Taylor
where is
County,
that?
Perry,
Taylor
Florida.
County.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So when you went that second time, how long were you gone?
I was gone like 14 months at this time.
You had more kids then?
No.
Okay. And so after them 14 months when you got out that time, so first I want to know, the first time you went to prison, especially being so young, when you first walked in there that very first day walking in, what went through your head? What were your thoughts?
Terrified, scared. I'm known as a person with abilities to fight, but you're talking about a whole different environment. You're talking about a whole section of thoughts. So, yes, I was terrified and you could say in fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That first time, would you say, do you feel like the whole time you was there you felt terrified, or did you eventually adjust? I hate to say, but that's what it is.
No, once I got there, I went through the process, and I was sort of this type of guy that I'm gonna fight back regardless. And I was tried or had a disagreement with one of the guys that was supposed to be this macho or bully guy on the compound, and I actually knocked him out on the basketball court, and I guess you can say it took off from there. My confidence was built back up, and
you ain't scared no more. Now you the man, huh?
I was at the time,
Yeah.
and it was like the guys more like respected me then. It was like a respect I never had before, even on the street. Looked up to, and when problems occurred on the compound, they actually were coming to me and asked my opinion towards it. So it was like,
okay. So that first experience, instead of scaring you away, you might have got a little bit comfortable there, especially when you saying respect that you didn't even get on the streets.
correct.
You weren't scared to go back.
I didn't want to know. I wasn't scared to go back, but did I want to go back? No.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
For sure you didn't want to go back, but you wasn't scared because
No.
now you know how to move around.
Exactly.
Okay. So after you did those 14 months, did you have another experience with prison? In between this time, did you go in and out of jail, or was it like
Yes, I did.
every time? Okay.
Well, once I got out this time, I didn't know nothing about drugs and the money that drug was bringing, and I met a friend of mine from a cousin. One of my cousins' name was. Had a boyfriend was from down south. Name was. And he was a good friend of my mom, and when I got out, me and him became close, and it was like he embraced me. I don't know, was it because of my masculine, or was it because, I had the respect and Taylor County, and he taught me the game about what I mean by the game. He taught me about drugs. That's when they had come out with cocaine, crack cocaine. They called them French fries and everything, and he showed me the lifestyle, what it brought, and I got caught up in it.
How long were you caught up in the drug game and selling drugs and all of that before you ended up having to suffer some consequences for it? Were you out moving around for a while, or?
Yes, I were, but it was like 18 months or 2 years later, I was caught up in the system again. This time, they sent an undercover cop to purchase drug from me, and I thought, I didn't think, I knew, I felt that he was undercover cop, and I made him use the cocaine. I told him he had 1 or 2 options, use or die. I'm sorry to say it. And once I got to court, even though it wasn't a large quantity of cocaine that he had purchased, it was the statements that I made and the fact that I told him either to smoke or something was going to happen to him. And they gave me a 40-year sentence as an habitual for that.
Did they feel like you were a threat to him, basically?
And they felt that I was a threat not only to him, but a threat to the community.
And they gave you a 40-year sentence.
A 40-year sentence.
How much of that 40 years did you do?
I ended up doing 11 years. Once I went back this time, I got certified as a paralegal, and instead of being a part of the prison system, I was a part of the law library. I started out as a magazine, handing out magazine in the library, and the lady, the clerk, saw that I was dedicated, because once I left the magazine booth, I would go in the law library and shepherd and digest case and everything. So she made it her business to, I guess, help me out, and I began to, do a lot of case laws and work on my own case. And she sent me to this class at another prison, and I started to look at anything. In '96, a case came out, was Hale versus State, where they said that they could not give no one consecutive sentences for one criminal episode. I was brought back on numerous occasions, but in 2003, they overturned my sentence from a pro se litigation that I filed that said the Hale versus State that they could not give them consecutive sentences on the one criminal episode.
So you ended up filing your own appeal and being able to get out.
Yes, I did.
That's impressive, just from the lawyer standpoint. When I heard you talk about shepherdizing them cases, I remember the time. So, like, just having to do that, it's easy now. You was looking through books. We can just put it in
manual.
the system right quick.
And still stuck on manual looking.
So, and by the time you went that last time, though, you had all of your kids then, right?
Yes, I did.
So, let me ask you.
No, I'm sorry. Let me correct that.
You didn't have all
I didn't have all of them. I had all except one.
You had 6 out of the 7.
Yes.
Right. So you had 6 out of the 7. So let me ask you, were you able to keep in touch? Did you want to keep in touch? Because, I interview other people, and some people say they don't really want to keep in touch because they don't want their family to see them like that and different stuff like that. So I guess that's a 2-part question. Did you keep in touch, and did you want to keep in touch?
Well, I felt that it was important to keep in touch. just to the fact that I want them to know that I was their father, and it was that I was not there, not because I didn't want to be, but it was because I was forced not to be there. My mother, stated into me that it's great to let your children know that you're their dad and to love them. So I wanted to know my children. I wanted them to know who I were. And my mom made it her business to bring them and see me while I was incarcerated.
Who you think your incarceration had the biggest impact on?
My mom and children.
Your mom and your kids. Now, one thing about your mom, though, just from what I know, she made sure she came out there to see you on the regular.
And it means necessary. Yes.
Yeah. How you think it impacted your children?
Because they didn't really know their dad or whom he really were. They could only go about hearsay and what was said about me, I felt that if I could have been there and they really got to know me, that thing could have been differently. And I know that some of them held this thing about my dad was never there. But before I was put in this predicament, I tried to be there as much as possible that I could. However, I didn't know how to be a dad myself because I never had a dad. I had a dad, but I didn't have one, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand.
And I could only go with what I was taught, but my mom taught me to love my kids and do all I can for them. And that's the only thing I knew, and that's the only thing that I live by. So I had to learn myself because I held this hatred, not with hatred or this dislike or this, I don't know what you call it, but I felt some type of way towards my dad. And it took this time right now for me to actually look at it differently because how could he teach me something that he never had? And he was a young guy, 16, 17, when him and my mom came about me.
Yeah.
And so I had to look at the ways, not that I felt, stop going off of emotions and feelings and look at it for what it was worth.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And I say, I give you the perspective of the impact on your kids as one of your kids. This my daddy, cat out the bag. So as one of your kids, I say, I agree with you as far as you saying us not having the opportunity to get to know you and just hearing about you, hearing about things. And I say for myself especially, I met everybody so much later in my life. I was 15 when I met everybody, and I knew who my daddy was, y'all. But, certain circumstances, honestly, like he was incarcerated, as y'all heard. He was supposed to have 40 years. And I think that kind of just the other influences that my mom felt was around, she wanted me to be a little bit older, more mature before I came around to get to know everybody. So I'll say during that whole 15 years that I didn't know, I was just always hearing about who Tony Jackson was. I knew that he ain't play. He ready to fight at the drop of a hat. I knew he had a lot of kids. I ain't even know how many siblings I had. I knew that. And I knew apparently all the women wanted him because they all had different mamas, all the kids. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they just telling me this little stuff, like, so I was just like, I knew that part of it. I'll say after meeting you and getting to know you and stuff like that, I think some of the impact, I think one of the issues that when you say anger and harboring something that some of me or my siblings, honestly, I don't hold no anger against you. Me and you done had plenty of conversations. But I think it's feeling like after you got out and had the opportunity to keep the going back and all of this, and as you said, you had 6 of us, you ended up having another one afterwards, and then still, like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, so I think that was part of why just some of those ill feelings, you know what I'm saying? And never getting that opportunity to get to know you. And the one thing I say about me being 15, meeting everybody, I wasn't around for everybody to glamorize all of the negative traits about you and tell me, oh, that's just like your daddy, for me to want to be it. And the reason why I say that is I look at my siblings. 5 of your 7 children done been to prison. You know what I'm saying? That's an impact, you know?
Yes.
5 of your 7 children done been to prison. 6 out of your 7 done at least been to jail. You know, everybody done been to jail but me.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, I think part of that impact is growing up and hearing about you. But when they hearing about you, also just the most negative things. And no disrespect to my siblings, because y'all know I love y'all. I give you the shirt off my back. But, like, I just remember my sister, a fighter, everybody know, bulldog. And even I tell people, nah, she don't even play. I got something to lose. She be like, call me. But I remember always, oh, you just like Tony. You a fighter just like Tony,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
My little sister that's incarcerated now, her saying she wanted to be just like Lil Tony so much she wanted to walk like him. And then Lil Tony saying, I wanted to be young super thug just like my daddy. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like all of those negative impacts. But like, I think we get the positive too. You a clown. I love when you cut up, when you dancing and all of that stuff, you know. And it's so interesting. One thing I wanted to tell you, though, and I said I was going to make sure I said it on the podcast, even though we never met until I was 15, actually, the earliest memory that I have, you in it. And it's so crazy to me. I was talking to my aunt that rest her soul, that actually introduced us to each other initially, and my mom, and I'm telling them about this dream that I had, that when I was a little girl, that you was in Cross City playing softball, and after the game you was carrying me around showing everybody like, oh, this is my daughter, and they like, oh, we know her mama, we ain't know that's your daughter. And then my auntie then was like, oh no, that really happened, but we surprised you remember that, like you was only like 3. And I was like, well, I'm surprised too. I thought I dreamed.
Yeah,
like,
it did.
I thought it was a dream.
And it happened. We was playing baseball there.
Yeah. And so, like, when I look at stuff like that and think about stuff like that, I can't, even when I be saying, like, it ain't impact me. I always had people that'll fill that role, all of this stuff. The reality is, that's crazy that's my earliest memory. That's the first memory I have is of my daddy, who I ain't never even meet until I was 15. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that hopefully what we talked about earlier is about, like, you know, being able to, everybody be able to, if you need to express yourself, but move forward. I'll say that, just being able to move forward and hopefully build from where we are and build forward. Definitely praying that this was the last time.
You know,
yeah, I done calculated it, and I said, man.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, man, it's been a lot of time missed. That's what I say.
I would think this is my lifetime, because this time now I was more in tune with bettering myself, looking at where I was making that mistakes at.
I want to ask you this: what do you feel like was the difference between this time and last time?
Well, I feel that the difference this time is that I was more in tune and to better myself, in tune with what was going on inside the actual institution. You know, I graduated from outpatient drug class. I graduated from making better decision and choices. I graduated from prevention. You know, I took the initiative to look within me and look at the things that was occurring to cause me to act out on a lot of things. And what I realized, it was more of me harboring this ill feeling towards even some of my family members because of how they looked at me and how they treated me in certain areas. And I realized that in order for me to move forward, I had to let all that go, put it in God's hands, and leave it as it is. You know, speak to them, which I was willing. I spoke with you about having a little gathering for I could speak to everybody as a whole. But it's more of me giving everything to God, first of all, and putting God first, and actually listening for His voice. When you know, if you actually look within yourself, you can hear when God speaks with you. I firmly believe. And I done put a lot of things behind me that was deterring me, what was causing it. And I know that if I put it behind me and I move forward, not dwelling on them, that I can make better choices and decisions.
I know that's right. Now, I said what's the difference between this time and last time because I'm going to let you talk about your other time when you spent them 11 years. You wasn't on that same positive trajectory, right?
No, I was not.
So, what was that experience like when you went that time? When you went for that long period of time? Because when you there, you thinking you there for 40 years. When you walk in, I feel like you walk in differently from when you know you only got 18 months, 12 months, or whatever. When you thinking you walking in for 40 years, what's the mindset of walking in for 40 years?
My mindset was, hey, go ahead and take over where you can and get yourself known. Be a dominant or whatever you do, go at it hard. So what I did, I went in there and I joined the gang. I'm an ex-gang member. I was a disciple, black gangster, whatever, your gangster disciple. I got to know the wrong side of the gate. In other words, instead of, like I said, looking at things in a positive aspect, it was all negative, you know. I got a taste of being in charge, not only of my gang members, but in charge of a whole compound. I guess it was the way that I moved, the way that I thought. And I got the big head because I was in a position where I could tell another inmate to do something to another inmate, and it wasn't even a question asked or why or what he done. It was done. They took care of the situation. Not only that, once I got out, even some of the gang members and the guys contacted me on the outs and was still willing to do as I asked, when I asked, and what I asked. And I think I let that went to my head of the power that I had inside there. And that played a big part of it.
Did that history of being in gangs, being affiliated, especially to be higher up, did that follow you for every time you went to prison after that?
Yes, it did. All I had to do was show myself at the compound, or someone knew me from another compound, and they were related. Once it was like a clock. It'd go around, oh, Tony Jackson here, you know he was the Don, or you know he was the big homie, the OG at this camp. And what would happen, they would hold this thing called a 360. It's where all the sects met, the gang members and sects met together, and they would have a vote of who would be the head of the gang and who would have to make decision choices of what was going on and occurring on the compound.
So you went in this time being positive, not looking for that. Did it find you this time?
Yes, it did.
How do you feel like when it found you, did you embrace it, or do you feel like you embraced it but not as deep as you were before?
Well, at first I rejected it. However, knowing my position as a being inside there, I felt that I had to take the initiative to accept it to a certain extent, and so I did. And but it wasn't not as deep as I was. I was not the top person, but I was an overseer, meaning the top person had to come through me to make his decision. And if he was teaching them or leading them astray, that it was my duty to correct him, and he corrected them. However, I decided to step down from it, and it almost cost me my life.
When did you decide to step down? Closer to you coming home, or was it like within the time of when you was going through this transition?
Well, it happened at a time when I was going through it. But however, at the time when I got closer to home, which I had to tell them that I had more time than I actually had. But once I came to terms with myself, I decided to, hey, man, they're going to have to accept what it is and not mean lie, because I felt that tell one lie, you got to tell another one to cover that one. So I decided to, hey, be straightforward and inform them that, hey, man, I'm about to go home. This is not really me no more. Y'all going to have to find somebody else to do this here. And some of the guys loved it because I saw them just, that they felt they had a bunch of time was going home. So, but it was a couple that didn't. And one of the guys that was under another set sent a hit at me. Meaning what I mean by a hit, they told him, I guess, try to make me have more time to stab me up. Couldn't have been nothing but God, because we were having the discussion in front of my work office, which I was a barber there, and the guy come up from behind with a knife, and he was swinging at me, and I don't know how he missed me, but he missed me, and I turned around and faced him, and he steady was missing me, and I'm just like, right in front of me, and I don't know how it happened, but it didn't. And then the guys come and ask me, did I want them to actually stab him up and get rid of him? And I made the decision not to. I told them no, leave him alone. I have nothing else to do with it. And it worked out for the better, because the guys come and say, man, I don't know how you done it. Not like, knowing you and your aggression, you didn't even get aggressive with him or nothing. You just walked off. And he say, several guys that come to us saying, what's wrong with you, because you didn't send them to do nothing to him. And we say, hey, man, the man trying to do better and move on and go home.
Okay, that's good. That's good, because, I already know once upon a time, you don't care, man, woman, or child. I always tell people, they say, a man ain't going to fight no woman in front of me. I say, oh, no, y'all don't know my daddy, man, woman, or child. He feel disrespected, he knock you out. He do not care. He do not discriminate. So, that does signify a lot of change. I'm happy for you for that. I'm proud of you for that. And I'm glad this last time that you felt just differently about it and how you wanted to go about it. I know this last time I felt differently about it. I was used to it, so it didn't really affect me, but the last time it actually did, because I was your attorney. And I didn't think that would, I didn't want to be your attorney at first. Well, you know that, because I kept saying no. Really because of the relationship, and two, because I still had my feelings at the time. I felt like I ain't got to represent him, just to be real.
And let me say this.
Yeah.
Again, I was arrested for something I didn't do at first.
We ain't going to get into this
Okay,
case.
Okay.
We ain't got to get into the
I'm talking about
case.
the aggravated assault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was about to
Not
say,
the drugs.
Okay.
Not the drugs.
Gotcha.
I'm meaning when they...
You right about the aggravated assault. You all right about that. When it was several cases, I thought you was talking about the drugs.
No,
what you
I
went
had
for.
that
That's
moment.
why I say we ain't got to do that.
I admit to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I had nothing whatsoever to do with me.
You right. And they had to drop them. That's why I was like, well, hold on.
Yes,
But okay.
Let me clarify.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't going to call you no lie. I just wasn't going to get into it.
Right.
But yes, you're right. So that one, I do understand what you're saying. But I was like, I don't know. I didn't want to represent you at first because I just felt like I ain't owe you that, just to be honest. But then when I saw what they was trying to do to you, like trying to railroad you, trying to give you a lot of time, you still my daddy, So I didn't want that to happen. So that's why I actually came on the case. And even still, I was working the case like it was any other case. It really wasn't until we got to the sentencing hearing and I was standing up there near you that I was like, damn, this hurt my feelings that I'm standing up here with my daddy. Like, how you felt?
Well, I really felt bad. That's why I wasn't going to call you or anything. I was trying to handle it on my own and with public defenders. But I'm going to say this. I think everything happened for reasons. Mm-hmm. I'm still here. Mm-hmm. I'm not 6 feet under. There's no dirt thrown on my face. I'm able to change. Mm-hmm. And I've made dramatic change. I think God put you through things for reasons. I think that God saved me and was getting my attention because he knows that a lot of things was happening to me that I didn't do and had nothing to do with. But however, he put me in this position not to awaken me, but to save my life. I was living a reckless life at the time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
I understand what you're saying. That ain't what I asked you, though. I asked you how you felt standing up there with your daughter having to take this prison sentence.
I felt bad. I felt like at first it was like I didn't know how to feel. I didn't want to accept the way that I was feeling. I'm saying, and it's crazy that my own daughter was standing up here with me. And I'm going back to prison. And when we had spoken, he said, Tony, I hope this is your last time. And then again, it happened. I didn't know really what to say to you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to react to the situation at the time.
Yeah. You know, I feel like everybody in the courtroom felt like that because they knew, like the judge and all of that. Like they knew.
Yeah.
I know they knew, and I think that even they didn't know how to react. That it was something foreign to everybody. Um, really, I thought that I was gonna just get through it, do the sentencing like everybody else, but I just remember. Cause I remember you standing there trying to stare straight ahead. You didn't want to look over there at me, no nothing. You just staring straight ahead at the judge. But when I looked over at you, I saw the tears rolling down. I'm up here doing a plea and now tears done started rolling down my face. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm in court. Let me get myself together. You know what I'm saying? But I remember when we got done, when I walked back there and gave you a hug. And I said, Tony, I hope this your last time because I'll never stand up there with you again.
Yeah.
You said, it is. You ain't gonna, it is. I got it right. And I say, like, whenever I talk to you and you told me about the classes and stuff like that, like, I got faith in you. Like, I know, and I know it might not feel like everybody else around you do because, you know, sometimes people just get used to what it is, what it was. But I always feel like people have room. People have room, and I'm going to trust what you say till you give me a reason not to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And, like, I hope you don't give me a reason not to. That's what all I say. Like, I pray you don't. I have faith that you don't. Because I swear I told somebody. Because me and you done had our ups and downs. I said, every time I be trying to be cool with Tony, he do something else to make me say, see, that's why I'm fool with him. I said every time.
Yeah.
So, but, like, to be honest, though, I can't even say I don't fool with you. I feel like we've just had a hard time having a father-daughter relationship.
That's right.
But we have a mutual respect, have a, you know, all of your kids call you Tony, not just me. Like, that's even something me and little Tony addressed later on. And I think that just because comes from the time, what you said about not being able to get to know you, stuff like that, of knowing you just as Tony or whatever. So, like, I got faith in you for it, Tony. I really feel like like I see something different in you. So I pray that it really work out. So we talked earlier, about that all of your kids call you by your name, call you Tony. How do you feel about that? That we don't call you daddy and that we call you Tony?
I sort of understand it, and I feel that it's more my fault than theirs. However, some of them have got to call them pops. They call me pops now. Couple of them, you know, it's a hurting thing. It's a awkward feeling. But sometimes you got to accept what's going on and love them still the same. On numerous times, it bothers me. I don't mention it to my significant others, man, you know. But I know that love is there for me and my children. That goes back to what I said. I think that deal with more of what been told to them. But now that they're coming around to know me and know that the love that I have for them, they calls me pops and that. So I enjoy it. You know, that hurts. It's a hurting thing, but it's something that I'm growing with.
I give you a perspective from since I'm your child and call you Tony. I think that it's just for myself. One, I didn't grow up with you being my daddy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up with you being here, being my daddy, and me calling you daddy, interacting and stuff like that. I think that I've always had other people that was filling that space. And I never even called any of them daddy either. I think that was part of it. That one, I just didn't know you, and like it just felt weird when I met you at first to be like just start calling you daddy because I felt like I didn't really know you. And I feel like when I initially met you, I actually was calling you daddy. I think just some things that happened made me fall back from calling you daddy. Just without, because this ain't no father-daughter podcast, you know, like just over the time, and then like I said, I think the biggest issue that most of your kids had is after you did that long period of time. It wasn't that we was holding it against you, because even to this day, I don't hold none of the time against you. All of that, I think it was afterwards. It was like, dang, he ain't even try to switch it up. He done missed so much of our life, and he ain't even trying to switch it up to be there now. Like, you know.
But again, it goes back to a lot of it was a misleading from their parents.
Well, you ain't gonna talk about my mama. So.
No, I ain't saying nothing bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying some of the things that their parents told them. You know.
Oh, I can't speak on that.
Yes.
Yeah, my mama ain't never said that.
I'm not saying no.
Yeah, so that's why I say I can't speak on that.
Like Jaleel mom, holy micro Batman. You know, she give us some of the thing that is lies. You know, and a lot of them don't know that I did go out my way to come get them when they was young and kids, when I was there with me and my mom, and at the time I wasn't responsible for myself. Mm-hmm. So how can I be responsible for someone else if you're not even responsible for yourself? Mm-hmm. That goes a long way. But again, I say, I might not have been responsible as I should have been, but as far as showing that love as they dad, and was there every time that I could be there, I was there. Mm-hmm. But I accepted it, that, you know, they were calling me Tony, but I know in they deep in their heart, they know their daddy loved them.
Yeah, I say that for all your kids. I know all your kids love you, and we know you love us. We know you'll ride if we need you to, and all of that.
On a drop of a time.
Yeah, so I don't think it's no love lost because of the title.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I do want to ask you one thing, because I remember when I first met you when I was 15 and stuff, how that gang stuff and the Muslim stuff mixed, because you was hardcore Nation of Islam. How that mixed? Because I thought the whole reason of joining Nation of Islam or becoming Muslim is so that you don't become affiliated with the gangs and stuff.
Well, I wasn't under the nation. I was a Sunni.
Okay.
And I still believe that a Muslim, but the word Muslim only means to worship one God. I don't practice Islam no more. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in Jesus Christ right now. Mm-hmm. And you can't worship both God. God, you can't straddle this fence. Either you're gonna worship God or you're gonna do the evil, and you really can't. You're not supposed to. Let's put it that way. Be affiliated and practice Islam, but you know some people in there get the wrong concept that practicing Islam is a gang affiliated. You know what I mean? You're a part of a gang, but they don't accept you.
Got you.
Right.
Like, I knew it wasn't a gang, like, just because, honestly, I felt like it gave you a certain amount of confidence. I be laughing all the time because about the world's greatest. I know that that's something that's I get it from you. I hear it from you. I get it from you. So I was talking to a guy. Who had been in prison before, and he was talking about somebody who was in there with him, and he said he used to always call himself, talking about he the world's greatest, all that. I said, oh, he Muslim. He was like, how you know that? I said, because of my daddy. Like, I know that. He's a Muslim. That's how I know that, or whatever. But I always would laugh and be like, yeah, my daddy, one thing he'll do, he don't eat that pork. I don't know if he's stuck with all the rest of it. I don't know if he's stuck with everything else, but he don't eat that pork. I do know that. I just was curious about that, about how the two of those was mixing, because I know when you did those 11 years is when you was introduced to it. So we ain't gonna hold it too long. What I want to know is, what's your plan now? What now? You're out now. Like we said, it haven't even been 24 hours. I know when we leave here, we're going to get something to eat. Then what?
Well, I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to rush into anything. They got this cleanup crew, Savage, that's clean up behind the hurricane. I'm finna go afterwards, get on that tonight and file for a job on the Indeed. However, I'm also trying to open my own business. I'm going to file for grants, which they're giving people that's coming out of prison and minorities in order to start small business and everything. Once you send a proposal of what type of business and the cost that you feel that it's going to cost for equipment, employees, and everything. And
is that that's a program you learned about while you was there.
While I
They
was
kind of
inside.
introduced y'all to it.
Yes, the OP teacher, she started having classes in order to teach us how to file for grants, teach us how to find other things that could benefit us when you have nobody or have nothing looking forward to. So they was teaching us certain classes. Her name was Miss C, that we could look into and things to help us out without just coming out here, because they only give you $50.
I know. Yeah.
And if you had over $100 within 6 months, you don't even get that $50 when you come out.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
someone that can come out of there, just imagine someone that done numerous years, 10, 15, 20 years, and they have nothing to fall back on. Their family done neglected them and everything. What can they do with $50?
True. Very true.
So
What do you think is going to be the hardest part of keeping yourself on a positive trajectory moving forward and not going back to the old life? Because it's easy to fall into what you know, and one thing we know about drug money is easy money, it's fast money, and it's a lot of money.
Staying away from the bad company. Staying away from those that is not striving for positive. If you're not trying to do nothing better, I don't got nothing better for you. Knowing the thing that triggered me, that gets me upset quick, to make me want to lash out if I got to be around it. If it's going to cause that, I don't need it.
I understand that. Now, this is a question that we always ask, and I always say it might sound like a crazy question, because really what positive come from prison, right? But what are something that you think that you learned that you was able to take away that was a positive aspect to build on? And I'll give you an example. Some people say structure. They ain't have no structure in their life before they was able to gain structure. Some people found God while they was in prison, was able to find religion, and that led them and things like that. So, like, what would be something that you would say was a positive thing that you seen?
Being true with yourself. You got to be true with yourself and admit when you have a problem. If you're going to hide it, it's just like telling a lie. You're not going to strive to better it. It's going to still be there when you leave. Stop making excuses for the wrong that you're doing. Be positive about it, until you come to terms with yourself. You're going to fall short. Put God first, man. Believe that, you can do better. Until you believe within yourself and believe with God, then you're going to fall short. It's going to continue to happen.
Yeah. Somebody, one of my professors always say, you can lie to everybody, but you got to be real with yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be honest with yourself, because that's who holding you accountable. That's what you going to know. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's definitely something good to make you reflect and see yourself. What's the worst thing you saw that's saying, like, you know what, I ain't going to say the worst thing you saw. It got to be different from when you went before and you going now, especially not even just because of your age, because it's different moving around when you young in prison. You young, you can do what you need to do, but when you older and all of that, outside of your age, like the environment and everything like that, I would think would be different. That would be a deterrent.
Yes, and man, they think it's bad out here, drugs. It is it will blow your mind of the drugs that's inside these places. And not only that, the guys that come in there by being on drugs, it don't do no good. It get worse inside there.
You would say everything they want is available in
It's
there.
available right there. And that goes back to what I said, until they come to terms with themselves and admit that they have a problem in whatever area that may be, and they feel that this is an enjoyment, they're not being disciplined. They're doing the same thing they were doing on the outs. So how could you expect to get out and stop doing something that you continue to do on the inside?
Yep. I understand that. I definitely understand. I understand what you're saying about the first step of fixing the problem is admitting you have it, right? Yeah.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I get that for sure. So we normally wrap this show up by saying, we let you lead it. Leave it off, giving your nugget, if you could give anybody some advice, any young men or somebody like that watching this, some advice and say, this is how you don't end up in this position. This is, if I could give you one piece of advice or even 2 pieces of advice of how you can make sure you don't go down this certain path or this road, what would those things be?
First thing I would tell you, think before you act. I wrote this to say, if I think what I thought, I'm going to feel what I felt. If I feel what I felt, I'm going to do what I did. And if I do what I did, I'm going to get what I got, either something or nothing. So I would say, think before you act.
That's a negative. And listen, because one minute can change the whole outcome of everything you have going on. That's something that I was trying to get Jalea to grasp onto. So, well, with that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you want to contact the podcast to find out how you can become a guest, all of the information will be in the description. I want to thank you. Thank you, Tony, for doing this interview for me. I very much so appreciate it. Welcome home. I'm glad you're home.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up and leave you with that nugget. Think before you act. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.
First day I gave my mama 100 rats and bought an iced out AP watch and bought a Cuban link just to match. That was voodoo, that was magic. Nigga be capping, I just be laughing. That was God, nigga was fasting and high K2 in my mattress. Smoking Tunti in my cell. That was my 12th time going to jail. That was my 2nd time going to hell.